everyone would take a seat, we're going to go ahead and get started with our program. My name is Amy Destler. I'm here with Communities Foundation of Texas, and I just wanted to welcome all of you and thank you for being here for our census workshop. At Communities Foundation of Texas, we are working very hard with our city, county, and federal partners to ensure a complete count, because we know how important the census is to all of the different nonprofits that we work with and to building thriving communities. So with no additional ado, I'm going to introduce County Judge Clay Jenkins, who's going to step up and tell us a little bit about the importance of the census to our county. Thank you.
So, sorry to come in and say hello and run. Funny story. So today, Dallas County will announce, or has announced actually moments ago, that we're the first county in Texas, maybe the first outside of California and Oregon, to have the capability locally to test for coronavirus. So that's good. Life being what it is, President Trump went on television and said every American is going to be entitled to a coronavirus test, which of course we have no capability in America to do that right now. So now everybody thinks that our announcement was that everybody in Dallas gets a free coronavirus test. So I'm going to go deal with that problem, and you work on this problem. But this is so incredibly important. It's important for representation. You guys all know that. I mean, that's why you're here, right? It's important for the money that flows into our hospitals. You talk about coronavirus or anything else. It's that federal money that helps us to do that, and that money is determined at about over $1,500 a person by the census count for 10 years. So a 1% undercount in Dallas County will cost you $40 million a year, or look at it another way, the cost of the American Airlines Center and both Calatrava bridges over a 10-year period. An 8% undercount, which is what they were talking about with the citizenship question, what the Trump administration projected Dallas County's undercount would increase by if they could get that citizenship question on there, is the cost of Parkland Hospital, Cowboy Stadium, both of those Calatrava bridges, the American Airlines Center, and all the transportation projects south of I-30, including the big change on the horseshoe coming into downtown Dallas in the last 10 years. So big money at stake. Also, I can't say who it is because I'm under a non-disclosure agreement, but I'm negotiating for our second Fortune 500 the corporate headquarter campus here in Dallas. And right now we have some in Irving, we have AT&T in Dallas, we're trying to get another. Businesses look at the census. It's very important to businesses whether they're deciding where to put their next Panera Bread or where to move their corporate headquarters. It's very important they have good data. And if Chicago's sitting at a 91% response rate and Dallas is at a 60% response rate, business can deal with just about anything but uncertainty. And so they may choose to go somewhere else. So we really need your help. I'm going to go deal with some other stuff right now. Jason is going to be with you, and this is so very important. And I so appreciate you doing this. I'm leading the efforts here in the city and the county, all 31 cities, but all mainly the city of Dallas and the county for a complete count. And all of our cities are engaged in that, but we need everybody to help. So thank you. Oh, one last thing. This jacket, guys, when I bought this jacket, there were about 4.5 million people in the Metroplex. And now there's over 7.6 million. We're the fastest growing combined metropolitan area in the United States. We got to get the count right.
My how times change. Thank you, Judge Jenkins. Good morning, everyone. My name is Evan Wollstonecraft. I'm an associate here at Educate Texas at the Communities Foundation of Texas. I will be your maestro for this 2-hour non-musical interlude of your life. Thank you for joining us. First up, just as a level-setting procedure, we're going to have a quick lesson on Census 101 from the Census Bureau itself. We have Catherine Smith-Hudak, a partnership specialist for the Denver region, and she will be sharing with us the national timeline, methods of delivery for the Census Self-Response Form, and more. Catherine?
Thank you, everyone. I know a lot of you, like me, have dedicated your time and energy to make sure that we get a successful count this census. So the main focus is to eliminate the fear that comes with that. And Mr. Clay Jenkins was just saying about how we can take one piece of information and it can change, as we share that information. So my presentation hopefully will kind of give you the foundation to where you can share the information accurately. So, all right, let's get started. All right, am I going backwards? Okay. Technologically challenged up here. Okay, so what is the census? The census is mandated by Congress. Can you hear me? Do I have to stand by this? I think I have a big voice. No. Yeah, because I like to walk. I'll talk really loud. Okay, so we have mandated since 1790, every 10 years, to count everyone in the United States, regardless of citizenship. Okay, she said she did. Yeah. There we go. Is that better? Yes. Okay. So we've been mandated to count everyone in the United States, regardless of citizenship. And I want to make sure you understand, regardless of citizenship, because that question is not going to be on the census form. So we can kind of squelch that already, and we kind of give people some relief to know that that is not something they have to be concerned with. But we count everyone. Now the census works all year round. The Bureau works all the time. Right now, you might see something like the American Community Survey going around, which I'm going, why did you send that out at the same time we're trying to get people to fill out their census form? Give us a year, right? But it's confusing. So that one is a really long form. It's multiple pages, and it's a selected group of people that will get that. Okay, so that kind of information helps. But every 10 years we count everybody. All right, so why do we count? Okay, it's for apportionment, for representatives. Okay, so people can have a voice for the things that they're concerned about. It's for congressional, state, and legislative school districts and voting districts. Okay, enforcing the voting rights and the distribution. This is the best part. The distribution of billions of dollars every year for the cities and towns. Now, what does that equate to? We'll get into that. It helps inform, like Clay Jenkins said, inform decisions for the federal, state, and local governments and businesses on where they want to put a business. How they're going to plan the city as it evolves, as the landscape changes. Okay? When people are complaining about how their neighborhoods are not being cared for, when the city is looking at the population count for that area and they're not there, they don't show up, the city's not going to put that money there. Okay, so we gotta educate our communities on why it's important and how do we get that money there. Because the federal government has already taken that money out of checks. So if you're still working, your money's already been taken. So bring it back to your communities, right? This is what we've got to tell people. So the impact on the the economic impact is. Voting rights matter. Okay, we're right in the middle of an election year, right? Getting people out to vote, and you can see the impact. How many people were voting? They were talking about that all over the news yesterday. They were talking about people were getting out, and that's what we want. We want that energy. We want that excitement about being part of the process. We're divvying up seats in Congress, and I just mentioned that. The teacher salary, schools. There's a school in South Dallas they were complaining about wasn't being maintained. Teachers are not getting paid what they deserve to get paid. Kids are not being fed. I mean, that money could have been here. You know why we're having overcrowding in the schools? Because people aren't counting their babies. And then in 10 years, they're in elementary school, and now we don't have enough money to cover that. And children, babies are one of the highest undercounted populations, 0 to 5 years of age. Health and wellness programs, clinics, hospitals, programs for the elderly. States, cities, and towns have the ability to plan for everyone. They want to know what that community looks like down to the street. Who lives there? Is it more senior citizens? Is it more children? Do we need a new school? Do we need an ambulance service? All this stuff is important. And okay, we talked about the use of businesses, so I'm going to have to read on that anymore. Okay, apportionment. Last census, I got the bug, and that's why I'm up here. My real life, I'm a couples therapist, but I really am passionate about this. You know, when this is all over, I'll go back to my real life, but this is important. Last census, which I worked, Texas gained 4 seats. So we have 4 more people fighting for what we're concerned about. Now, just to kind of give you a timeline, I have some materials out on the table out there, and so it has a roadmap, but this gives you a little bit more information about what's going on in the census, what we're doing that you guys don't see. Okay, so in January, we kicked off in Alaska because they have inclement weather that we had to get up there and get that count done. And then we do the address verify. That's when we have people work with the city and different organizations that understand how the landscape has changed. New addresses, new developments, and all of that. And the storm that hit us recently, you know, how home addresses have changed. Okay, so then February through March, we do group quarters. Now that's when we're counting prisons, dorms, extended stay facilities, healthcare facilities where people stay for a long period of time. We count those to make sure that we count everybody. When we say all, we mean all, everybody. The Young Children Initiative, they're one of the highest undercounted populations, 0 to 5. So we're having a national event, and we're really trying to get people to understand that they have to count their babies. Statistics in schools, we finally got a clue, okay? And we said we need to have this as an educational thing all the time, not just every 10 years. We need to start educating our children about what the census is all about. And then they will grow up knowing that it's important. And it takes 21 times for something to become a habit. We want to create habits. That's why we have April 1st as Census Day. We want people to think, oh, it's not April Fool's Day, it's Census Day. So we want to create that habit, that memory, you know, to keep it something that's in the forefront of our head. Then, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but we have an MLB, Major League Baseball event. That's going to be awesome. We have National Neighborhood Block Party Week. We have, you know, take a picture of this with your phone so you'll have that and you can refer back to it. Great stuff going on. Now here's the thing about confidentiality. I am an employee of the Census Bureau. even though I'm temporary, I took an oath for life that I would not share any information that I received that's personally identifiable information, okay? I can face 5 years of imprisonment or $250,000 fine. And I don't think it's that important. I like my freedom. It is important, but I'm not gonna, chance being locked up, okay? So it's very, very important. It's 72 years after that census day. So, 72 years ago, that census information is now being released. Okay, so we don't share it with any other organizations. By the time we give any of this data out, it's just numbers, it's statistics. So not even the president can get it. It's just numbers and statistics. So, safe and confidential. So, what do we ask? I always say, if you shop on Amazon, if you are on social media, they know more about you than what the several presidents know. Really? Have you gotten one of those ads for something you just looked at on social media? Yeah, we were just talking about that, Guadalupe and I. It's amazing how they know more about us. And this is all we're gonna ask. We're gonna ask the name of the person filling out the form. We're gonna ask for a phone number. We're gonna ask for them to give us their gender, their gender, their ethnicity, their race, and then we're going to ask them to do that for everybody in the household, and then we ask for a phone number, and if they own or rent the place. That's all. So, fill out the form. We won't ask for a social security number, a donation. We don't ask for for credit card numbers. We don't ask for any of that. And if you want to look and find out about any of the scams that are out there, go to 2020census.gov. We have a list of them. And this census, there's 4 ways to respond. We added one for convenience, and we brought ourselves up to date. We're not dinosaurs anymore. So, secure internet, March 12th, you will be receiving, each address will be receiving a postcard invitation to fill out your form online. It has a code on it that is attached to your address, and you can fill out the form. If you miss the first mailing, we'll send up to 5 mailings to remind you and invite you to fill it out online. We're trying to go green, so the more people we have fill it out online, the better. Okay? Those who miss it, if you lose the card, use your address. Okay? We'll clean it up on the back end, don't worry about it. We always tell people, if you're worried about it, if you missed it, if you're separated and the husband has kids and he might have counted the kids, or you forgot the uncle in the back, in the garage apartment or something, don't worry about it. Fill it out again. We'll do the cleanup on the back end. Okay? Just to make it easy. You can respond by phone. We have English plus 13 forms printed. So 13 languages, 12 languages and English. So we have, that covers about 95% of the population. But we also have 60 language guides that help other languages. We also hire people that look like the people we're trying to serve in that community, to speak that language. So we're really trying to make sure that everybody is covered. You can also respond by mail, okay, which is a form. If you don't fill it out online, you will eventually get a form. If you don't fill out the form, we're going to come knocking. And if you don't answer the door, we're going to ask your neighbor. We're going to get the information one way or the other. And asking your neighbor is by proxy. So we just do our best to get the information that we need. And then in person, when you request someone to come to your house because there is a challenge, maybe there's you have a challenge with sight, or you're hearing impaired, or you have a language challenge, something, you can always have someone come to the house. Okay, we have a resource to help people understand where are the hard to count areas for them. We consider these tracts. The darker blue areas in our area here in Dallas-Fort Worth is, those are our hard-to-count areas. So you see that there are lots of hard-to-count areas. And I think the number from the last census were about, for Dallas, was about 63%. So 37% undercount. So remember those numbers that Clay Jenkins gave us? A lot of money we left on the table. A lot of money. So you can go to that map, go back. You can go to that map and you can click on any of those dark spaces. It's just, if you go to 2020census.gov/Rome, R-O-A-M, or you can just Google Rome Census, and it'll pull it up. And you can click on those areas and give you all kinds of data on that particular area. Like those breakdown of languages and how many children are in the area and that kind of stuff. And that's from the 2010 census. So, 2020census.gov, that's our hub. There is where you can go and you can find partner materials, you can find the Census of Schools information, you can find everything. And we'll eventually, when the site goes live, we'll put a button where people can click on that button and they can fill out the form. And also, it'll have up above a banner for the languages. So they can click on the languages and it'll have the form in that language. And we're still hiring. So across the country, we're going to hire 500,000 people to help us with this huge initiative. So we still have jobs. If you know anyone is looking, you can send to 2020census.gov/jobs. And that's okay. So, all right, so that is the end for me. I told you I was technologically challenged. So if you have any questions, I will be here for a while when you get me there. Thank you.
We'll have time for Q&A. We'll have time for Q&A in a few minutes. Up next, we have Guadalupe Carranza from Univision. Last year, the Texas Tribune reported that over 50% of the new population growth in Texas in the past 10 years has been from Latinx households and individuals. They are a crucial demographic to count this year. And we have some expertise in the House to talk us through what some effective methods of outreach will be for Hispanic Dallas. Guadalupe Carranza, Regional Director of Digital Sales for Univision.
So when you consider, sorry. So how are you going to partner to reach Hispanics? There are currently 58 million Hispanics in the U.S. as of 2016. We think that that number is really at about 63 to 64 now. That's 18% of the population. But when you look at Texas and you look at, we say Hispanics are even more relevant in Texas. When you consider that there's 11.9 million Hispanics in Texas, that 41% of the total Texas population is Hispanic, I think that it's even more important that we know how to reach this audience. Evan, what number did you say was?
What did I say,
50? Yeah. So we're projecting, and Nielsen and a lot of our data companies that we subscribe to, we're projecting that there's going to be 69% of the projected Texas population growth will come from Hispanics. You can look at Texas, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin. It's a growing population, and really, it's important to know how to reach them. There's definitely a misconception when it comes to, and I know this because when I talk to clients, big companies like an HEB in Texas, or I talk to different organizations, they always assume that, that Hispanics are not don't have the latest mobile device or not, have smartphones, for example. That's a misconception that I see a lot. But I have to say that the smartphone is really what has broken the digital divide. In the last 10 years, Hispanics have grown in income, education, home ownership. They are driving the growth in a lot of areas. And it's really, really important to know that the best way to reach them is through a mobile device. We know that at Univision, we were the first in, and people still trust us and go to Univision, not because they don't speak English. It's more, 70% of the population is bilingual. But they go to Univision because they want to see, it's like everybody else. You want to see people that look like you, and you want to hear a language that means home. So we know that, Hispanics, that this Latinx millennial population, they over-index when it comes to living in multi-generational homes. And we know that reaching the mom, the grandmother is very, very important because we make decisions in groups. We know that to reach them, you need a social-first, influencer-heavy, community-focused mindshare. So what that really means is, Facebook, mobile is really, really important. This is the way that we communicate. We have family, and I say we because I'm Hispanic, but we communicate with family back home, wherever home is, whether that's Mexico, Venezuela, or another Latin American country. It's really, really important that, the mobile phone, again, gives us that, connection. If anything happens, there are a lot of people that are afraid to be counted for immigration issues or reasons. If anything, that phone is their livelihood and their lifeline, so they can move anywhere. But as long as you have that phone, you can contact people in another state or, people back home. So really, the mobile phone is really important. We over-index with smartphone usage. We over-index with social, if that is such a thing. You could think that the whole, that everybody's on their phone, everybody's on social media, but Hispanics, numbers show that Hispanics over-index with it, and actually we're going to see big growth. Mobility, mobile friendly, and then, it's really important that you're able to measure whatever efforts it is that you have to speak to this audience. Leverage the power of Spanish language in culture and in language still matters. 80% of Hispanics, 18 plus, speak Spanish. Again, 70% are bilingual, and 44% are Spanish dominant. And we continue to say that Spanish is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I think there's a resurgence with, people wanting to make sure that Spanish, that the new generation also speaks Spanish. It's about it's about keeping the culture, and it's about, just connecting to what home is. Language is key to cultural currency. 62% of Spanish language say that Spanish language is more important today than it was 5 years ago, and 56% say that language is one of the most important aspects of culture to preserve. Messaging in culture and in language is really going to make a difference. And yes, you have Univision, which is the media powerhouse, but you also have tools that you can use as a nonprofit, like Facebook, where you can target this audience. You can target them. It's important that you target them. We still believe that Spanish, all Nielsen data, Scarborough data tells us it is important to them. They feel connected when you speak to them in Spanish. We know that, again, 60% of Hispanics were born or grew up in the internet age versus 40% of non-Hispanics. So the mobile device and social is just part of their everyday. They're spending more hours a week on average on their smartphones, and they are watching 66% more video on a smartphone than non-Hispanic. They are super social and super mobile consumers. Facebook and YouTube have the most pervasive use by far with US Hispanics. So really, again, this is where, I think for a nonprofit, if you're really trying to reach this audience, it is, having messaging that is mobile friendly, having messaging through social, particularly Facebook and Instagram, are going to be an important way to reach out to this community. It is important that, to know that there are tools on Facebook that can help you reach them and target them if your organization is, here to serve that community. Any questions? I know that we have 15 minutes, so I just, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just really about, this is a growing population. How are we going to make sure that they're counted so that we have the resources that we need in the state of Texas? We know that the population growth is going to continue to come from, from Hispanics, and they're driving retail, they're driving a lot of areas of the city. So it's really, really important that we get this population counted and that we do it, in culture and in language, through video, through mobile, and through social. So Univision does have,
Can you repeat the question?
How nonprofits can, if my office, how different nonprofits can leverage Univision's content about the census to help engage their audiences?
So I think that Univision's, we say that our mission and everything that we do currently, if it doesn't empower, educate, entertain the community, we're not doing it. The different, whether it's Dallas, Austin, we all have the same mission. It really is, we're doing our best to make sure that we get the message out. We know that this is really, really important for our communities. And I think that through social, you can actually look at Univision, if you're in Dallas, look at Univision, you can share some of the content because we will and we are covering census. You're going to find that sharing something from Univision is going to have higher engagement. Hispanics actually, because of the family units and because of part of the reason that they're so engaged with social, they say that what Hispanics share is seen 39% more than non. And part of it is that because we have big communities and big groups and we're sharing a lot and we tend to like things from our aunt or our cousin or uncle or just our friends. So I think that you can use, if you are able to share some of the information that we're telling the community. We have a lot of stories on the census. We have a big initiative. For us, it's extremely important to make sure that Hispanics are counted, and we know that this is a community and this is a population that, Texas, if you look at 69% growth, if 1%, 2% are not counted, we're going to lose dollars. So it's really important for us to make sure that, that they are. So sharing on Facebook is one of the ways. Sharing some of the video, knowing that Hispanics are over engaging and sharing video content. I think that that's important also. And even, using some of the resources you have within your organization, knowing that video is important, creating video content. And the nice thing is that with this mobile device, we now can create content and create video. Short and sweet to the point is the best way to do it, 15 seconds or less, to make sure that people watch and are engaged.
Okay, we're going to ask Catherine to join you up on stage, Guadalupe, and then we'll take a few more questions.
Two things real quick. I also want to echo the idea and the notion of the Hispanic use of mobile devices. I think that's understated because just in my clinic alone, we served in West Dallas, almost predominantly Hispanic. When we went to the mobile devices and the text messages and alerts, our no-show rate dropped 50%. I mean, so we've seen great success in that. So I just want to echo what you were already saying. Secondly, what is the unified message we send to our Hispanic and immigrant community that the information on the census is not going to be shared with ICE, with the places that they're so scared of? And when we're talking about setting up a kiosk or something in our nonprofits or in our spaces, is that going to be something that we can run, we can help navigate those systems for our Hispanic folks, especially since 75% of the people we serve are Hispanic? Or is that something that we have a census worker there helping us navigate that? What does that look like? So those two questions that I have, right?
The first one, we have tools already prepared for this Spanish-speaking population. We have video, we have social media graphics already ready to go. You just go online and you can pull those from the toolkit. We got PSAs, we've got everything available for you, so you don't have to, figure out anything. It's already translated and everything.
What's the elevator pitch, though? What do we say?
That is, it's not shared with us. It's confidential. It's safe. We don't share it with any entity. Not even the president can get it. That's the one key right there.
And I think that's part of the message that we've been focused on. Again, I think that mobile is 93% of all people coming to univision.com are coming through a mobile device. So I can't state enough how important mobile is and how important social and video are.
The second part about the kiosk, you said something about that.
Yeah, as Census Bureau employees, we come out, we can assist you if you have an event, you want us to come there and help staff, we can definitely be there. ABI also will have kiosks available. I don't know how they're going to lend them out, but they also have resources for you. But you can assist your whoever you touch with filling out their form. We're bound to the privacy thing, but we can't mandate to you how you interact with the people that you touch, because if you're a trusted voice and you're a leader in that community, they trust you over us. So if you have volunteers and you want us to train, we are more than happy to come out and train people for you, and we more than happy to come out and staff the events for you. So you just let us know what you need.
Just in this point of agenda, we'll have ABI, which is the vendor that's supporting the city and the county with our complete count activities, here later in the presentation, and they can answer very specific questions about how to get kiosks and what that will look like.
I was going to say, so I was excited to see some of the census commercials start going on TV earlier this week. So seeing the presentations from Univision, wondering whether part of the ad buys from the census are also going to be for social media, like Facebook and YouTube, or if it's only TV. And then that was my question. And then that was my. I also wanted to mention that as far as the your question about how to talk to people about ICE and the security of the census. Some of the there was I think the Civis, this national firm did like focus groups, and as far as what turns out or what drives response, like focusing on security actually drives down response. So it's kind of like telling somebody, don't worry, the snakes outside are dead. They're going to be thinking about that. So. Yeah, so as far as like messaging, like the most important things were like, this is your civic duty, representation, and funding. But I guess, we do have to have responses for questions, but we don't want to lead with that. We don't want to, kind of focus on that.
Okay, as far as the social media thing, yeah, we did add to a budget because it was last year that we took the bids for all of our media buys. So that's why you see the commercials running now, but then about 2 months ago, we added a budget for social media, and so we do have that on board. And yes, I tell people, if you can really talk to people about their children, especially in the Hispanic population, if you talk to them about how they are helping their babies, how they're helping their children, with the education, the resources for special education classes and transportation and teacher salaries and more schools and just how they help their children. That is a big, that moves them forward in the process of getting them to fill out their form.
Other questions?
I hear one.
I can talk loud.
Okay.
In the past, on the census forms, they asked for rates. Well, on 2020 census form, Is there a spot for race?
Yes, there will be race and ethnicity. As the forms have changed and we have evolved as our country evolves. We have influxes of different races of people. So the form has changed multiple times over the course of since 1790. And that information just gives us a snapshot of the communities we serve. So the American Community Survey, like I said, it gets more detailed because it's very long, but what we need to do is we need to gather information about what our country looks like so that we can better serve the communities that we serve. We're over that, we're guarding that money, but we have to be able to give it out in a way that it's fair and it helps everybody. So we ask the race and ethnicity question and gender and age. We ask that because we're really trying to make sure we see what the landscape looks like.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Is there mixed race on that, on those questionnaires? If you pick 2 different races, what do they pick? 'Cause I understand that it'll choose for you.
Okay, mixed race meaning, okay, so if say you're Hispanic and you are German, okay, you can put that your ethnicity is Hispanic,
Yeah.
but your race is German. There's even a spot for you to put,
You're still mixed race overseas. So if I'm Hispanic
okay,
and I'm mixed race, what do they do?
you can click or if you're online, you can click the race, and then there's a box for other, you can add in the other.
And it's my understanding if you add in 2 races on this side, that wherever the county picks a race.
I think it gathers all the information because even though you're not, it doesn't look like it's taking all the characters, it's still gathering that information. So when whatever you put in there, it's going to take that information in.
Yeah, I think that it's gonna, I see what you're saying, and I think that that's a question that a lot of people have, and I've seen a lot of social media activity on it. You know, if I'm Black and I'm Hispanic, like, I want both to be counted, how do we get them counted, or, you know.
But the Hispanic is the ethnicity.
Correct.
Race is different.
Race is different. And
Yes.
so in my last term, you had ethnicity, and then you had the race. I was told that if you put 2 races, it picks, if you're Hispanic, it just picks one. No matter what you say about the Hispanic.
No, there's a box for other. So you click.
So we have to
Okay,
check
so
it.
if you're clicking 2 of the clickable,
Yes.
yes, you might get, one might get, they might limit you. But if you click the one and then write in the other,
Okay.
then you should be covered.
Okay.
We'll have some time for more questions at the end of general on-call for everything that's been presented today. We are moving into our workshop breakout portion of today. We are joined by Katie Martin from the Center for Public Policy Priorities. She will lead us through outreach plan development, what to do, when to do it, how you can leverage your organization, your personal networks, and the resources that we have at the disposal of the city, the county, and our partners across the state and the nation for how to get out the count. Katie.
Good morning, everyone. As Evan said, my name is Katie Martin Lightfoot. I am the Census Community Engagement Coordinator at the Center for Public Policy Priorities. Yes, I have the longest job title, and I also work for the organization with the longest title as well. I'm really excited to join y'all today because we're going to talk about outreach. I don't know if you've heard, but the census is going to be live in Texas next week, a week from this Thursday, March 12th. And so I'm sure there's folks in this room who have already been engaging their communities in census outreach work. Maybe some of you are new to this, but at the end of the day, we know the census is going to be launching next week, and we need to make sure that our community members are aware. And so to start off this presentation, I want to talk about the secret outreach formula when it comes to census outreach. Oh my gosh, it's so simple. It's really just two things. One being education and resources. And so I'm sure that y'all have been kind of doing your own homework in terms of what's important when you're sharing information about the census. Catherine did an excellent overview of kind of the Census 101 materials. And there's also a lot of really great resources that already are in existence, meaning you don't have to recreate the wheel. So when we take all of this information and we add it in with trusted voices, and trusted voices is everyone sitting here in this room. It's folks in your community, it's those formal and informal leaders, and when we provide, combine the education and resources with these voices that our community already trusts, and we put those together, we're gonna end up getting all Texans counted. And so again, with this, it's really important that our community members are hearing this message that the census is safe and easy to fill out from multiple trusted messengers. And so let's go a little bit more into education and resources. And so the first thing that we can do in this room to make sure that we're going to be having successful census outreach is making sure that we're informed and we're staying informed. And so there's a lot of information out there about the census right now, but we also don't really know what kind of world we're going to be living in when the census online form is live in our communities. Meaning that right now we're very much in the awareness stage and we're thinking about how it's going to turn out, but we really don't know how Texans are going to respond, how people in Dallas are going to respond, and so that's really important that we're staying informed. And so a couple of options that you can do is signing up for the Texas Counts newsletter. That is another entity that I represent. We have a newsletter that goes out to Texans every week. It talks about all things census, so this kind of helps you stay in the know. In addition to that, you can also be utilizing existing resources to promote the census. And so whether that's visiting our website, texascounts.org, going to the Census Bureau's website, or any of the other really great resources you have, especially I know Dallas recently just created their census website. It looks great, it has a lot of resources on there. And so it's taking all of this information that you are gathering from these different sources and tailoring it to your community because, again, you know your community best, you're a trusted messenger, and them hearing that the census is safe and easy from you, they're going to end up filling it out. And so when we talk about resources, we keep saying, yes, 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 these resources exist, but I actually want to put some in front of you so you don't have to recreate the wheel. And so as I mentioned, we have texascounts.org. This is your one-stop shop for all things census in Texas. On our website, you can also sign up for the newsletter. We also just recently created a toolkit. It's really great because we divide it into 3 different things. So one, what are kind of your general questions about the census? And so just some of those more basic Census 101s, they can be answered on this website. Are you ready to spread the word? And so this is another really great resource because it will constantly be having new information to share out as well as postings as well. And then getting out the count in your community, again, just more resources. Here's an example of some things that we do have on our website. And so as you can see, Sesame Street is also promoting the census. And so hop on our website. We've already pulled these resources for you. Download them, share them on Twitter, on Facebook, print them out, post them up in your clinics, at your centers, just to make sure that we're getting the message out there. In addition to that, we also break down more information about understanding the timeline, downloading the sample questionnaire. This oftentimes is really helpful for folks because they might be a little bit nervous about what's actually being asked. When you print out that form and you let someone actually physically flip through it, it makes it a little less scary. And again, there's a lot of other really great resources on the website. As I said, we also have our newsletter. We actually have a celebrity in the room. Kim was featured as one of our census champions. She works at the North Texas Commission, and we featured the great work that they're doing. Also wanted to highlight, which I believe y'all will be talking about later, the Dallas census website, which is up and running. Like I said, it's great, has lots of great resources for you. North Texas specific again, this is Kim's organization, the North Texas Commission. Look at these wonderful graphics that they have that are very Texas specific. Again, you can hop on there, download them, share them out, print them out. They're also in Spanish. They also have these amazing quick 30-second videos that talk about the census as well. And then this was made by the Texas Hospital Association. And now I'm going to blow y'all's minds because I'm going to show you all of the amazing resources that the Census Bureau already has up on their website, 2020 Census. That again, you can print these out, share them with your communities. So about counting young kids, So I apologize. These are made from another Texas-based organization, Texans Care for Children. And their focus is making sure that we get all of our kiddos counted. Look how adorable that baby is. Imagine that hanging up in your clinic. And now going into what the Census Bureau has for resources, this is a really great one. It's a Census 101. This is your cheat sheet for all things census. And so if you're really wanting to engage in census work, have this guy printed out, have it easily accessible so you can make sure you're spreading the word. This is another really easy thing to share. It tells folks how to respond to the census. I really like this one. Another great cheat sheet because it actually has the timeline for when mailings are going out. So again, if you're promoting the census, you want to make sure that your community members are aware of when the letters are coming. That timeline is super helpful. I know we talked about needing a link to respond to the census online. Let's say that at your clinic you are able to have a couple of tablets open to where community members can come in and fill out the form, and maybe someone doesn't have that unique code. It's okay, they can still fill out the census form. Again, this is going to be another really helpful thing for you to have, so when folks are wanting to fill out the census and might not necessarily have that unique code, they can still respond. And this goes for people experiencing homelessness as well. In terms of group housing, that's another way that the census counts people. And so if there are homeless shelters or nursing homes, or think about our college students who are away in dorms, this explains how we're counting folks in group quarters. It's easy to be counted. This one is all about accessibility. Again, just another great resource to have on hand. You can respond to the 2020 census in Spanish. We've talked a lot about our Latino populations, and so again, this is another really great resource. For the questionnaire, some people might be wondering, why are they asking me this question? This is your cheat sheet. You can say, well, they ask you your sex because of blah, 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 blah. So again, another really great resource. These are I wanted to highlight some different posters that they have, reaching out to different communities to make sure that we're counting, like our newborn babies, making sure they're counted, talking about education, our health sector, higher education, everyone being counted, our veterans, renters. When I say the Census Bureau has done their homework in creating resources so you don't have to, they've really done it. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the Census Bureau, they want people to get counted. And so if you see one of these, as you can see, they're in different languages as well, and maybe your organization might have a little bit more sway in that community, I don't think the Census Bureau is going to be upset if you work for CASA and you pop your CASA logo on those, so when you're reaching out to your families and advocates and they see that flyer and they're like, oh, well, okay, the census, and I trust CASA, so maybe I will fill out this form. So again, use these materials, tailor them to your audience. When it comes to the Census and Confidentiality, this is something that the Census Bureau has created as well. Again, it's another great cheat sheet to be talking about the security around the census. I want to go back to that conversation a little bit. The fear that people are experiencing is very real. And as people working in the community, we need to acknowledge that fear. We can't just brush it away and say, oh, there's all these protections in place. I think we know just working in the community that when you have those conversations with people and get to a place of understanding, that's when those values really come into play. And so when you tell someone, think about your kiddos, if we're counting them now, this is going to be their entire childhood, because if your kid is 4, the next census isn't coming until they're 14. That's 10 years of that child's life, meaning their school programs, maybe some healthcare programs, the quality of their community. And so just another really big push is not necessarily thinking about someone as an individual, but thinking about the benefit for your community and your family as well. And so it's important to have this language because there are lots and lots of protections in place where the Census Bureau will not be sharing that information with anybody. But again, it's also important to acknowledge that fear people have and have conversations and educate them and empower them to make the right decision for their families. So I showed you a lot of resources, and so I'm hoping this kind of gets your brain thinking a little bit to maybe where you can post something or share something out. And we're going to switch to the importance of what trusted voices are, trusted messengers are in our communities. So as a trusted messenger, your voice really matters. It holds a lot of weight. You have personal and professional networks across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, maybe across Texas. And when people see you or hear from you or see a Facebook post or an email, they trust you because they know you and it's coming from you. And so because of that, it carries a lot of weight in terms of telling people the census is safe and easy to complete. So knowing that you have that power in your voice and knowing that you know a little bit about the census, the importance of it, Combine those together to spread the good word about filling out the census. In addition to that, also make sure that you're identifying folks who are trusted messengers in your community, whether they're informal or formal leaders, and so we can look to our elected officials or maybe the CEO of a nonprofit or a business, but also think about maybe that grandma in the community who all the kids go play in her yard after school. That's an informal leader in the community, and if grandma is sharing news with parents or their guardians in that neighborhood about the census, they're going to trust her because they allow their kids to play in her yard. With that, you also want to make sure you're educating other trusted messengers about the importance of the census, that it's safe and easy to fill out. And then when those people are informed and empowered about the census, they're going to tell other people, and they're going to tell other people, and it's going to have a ripple effect, which is going to be really, really great. And of course, it's promoting collaboration across the board. And so when we think about the census, and we have all of these different trusted messengers from different places, maybe it's your child's teacher at school sending home a letter in the take-home folder. Maybe it's your faith leader on the weekends. Maybe they've incorporated something into their sermon. Maybe at your dentist office you see a flyer about the census. All of these little touches from all of these trusted messengers in the community, at the end of the day, are going to have that collective impact of making sure that all Texans are counted. And again, the message is the census is here because it's about to be here. We have to make sure that everyone in our state, in our country, in our city are counted, and that it's safe and easy to fill out as well. So let's talk a little bit about the outreach timeline and what that actually looks like. So this is from the Census Bureau. Again, I will die on this hill, but the Census Bureau has really great resources that you should use and tailor. We're currently in that awareness stage, meaning that we can't actually fill out the form yet, but we can be educating our community about the importance of the census. And as you'll notice, this goes until March 12th, which is the day that the census is live. Then we quickly move into the motivation stage and then the reminder stage. And so again, with the awareness stage, this is just getting into our communities and making sure people are informed and educated about the census. This is answering any questions people might have, dispelling any myths. We just want to be trusted messengers in this work. This is from the Census Bureau, some examples of things you can do. Obviously explaining the importance of the census, informing them that it's easy and safe and important, displaying posters, putting things on social media. However you typically reach the communities and audiences that you already serve, just naturally put census messaging into there as well. When the census is actually live in communities, which is March 12th, through about May 12th is what the Census Bureau calls that motivation window, our messaging really starts to shift. We're just not telling people, hey, the census is coming, it's really important. We're also saying, hey, the census is important, it's here, and now we gotta make sure we're filling out the form. And so it's an activation. It's making sure that our households and our community members know they can actually physically be filling out the census form. Obviously, education is always important. There's going to be new questions arise when the form is actually live, and so we need to make sure that we're still educating ourselves about the census to make sure we're educating our communities. But again, we still have that call to action to where we can actually be filling out the form. Here is just some examples of what the Census Bureau says in terms of making sure folks are aware. One of the big things is if you do have the capability to host computers or an iPad in your office or in your center, that's a really good and easy opportunity to allow folks from the community to come in and fill out the census form. And I also want to highlight Census Day, which is April 1st. This is kind of that anchor date to where you're counting everyone in your household, but it's also a day of celebration. And so I'm sure in Dallas there will be events happening across the city, across the Metroplex, just talking about the importance of the census, celebrating it as well. One common misconception when it does come to census work is everyone in this room now knows that the census will be live next week. And so that's about 3 weeks before the actual census day. And so that's 3 weeks to where we can be doing really good get out the count work in our communities. And that's 3 weeks of folks actually responding to the census prior to April 1st. And so again, just want to harp on that point that although, yes, we're celebrating Census Day, it's not the first day that households can respond. And then our last shift comes in May through June. And this is when things look a little bit more targeted. And so when we do the census, people will get an invitation to fill out the census online via an invitation through the mail. It's actually not until April they'll get that physical paper copy to fill out the census. And they'll also be able to respond by phone as well. But it's actually, when we get to May, that's when the enumerators come, or the door knockers, who the Census Bureau is still very actively hiring for. And so our messaging shifts again because we've been telling people to self-respond to the census. Now someone's going to be coming and knocking on their door to fill out the form. And again, we need to make sure our community feels empowered and safe opening the door for a Census Bureau enumerator or door knocker to fill out that form in person. And so again, that messaging begins to shift because we're moving people away from the phone and the computer to that physical that in-person interaction with the Census Bureau staffer. Some messaging ideas from the Census Bureau is, again, and we'll make sure that y'all get these slides because there's lots of really great resources in there. And so I gave you kind of a crash course in the outreach world of census, and let's start talking a little bit more about what your census outreach plan can look like. And I want to start off with a couple of quick questions. And so when we think about census work and getting out the count work, what are you doing right now? Are you already engaging in census work? Is it something that you've been thinking about, haven't quite gotten there? Do you have a really big, elaborate plan? Just kind of where are you now? What can you implement quickly? So maybe if we haven't quite started that plan yet, what is some natural fit where you can really start getting out the word about the census? Who can you get involved and who can you tell? And I want to tear apart these questions a little bit more. And I think when it comes to census outreach work, we're looking for natural fits. The census only comes once every 10 years, meaning that folks that are involved in census outreach work, a lot of times you're already doing other programming or you're already engaging your communities in different ways. And so when it comes to the census, it's kind of like, oh, well, I've never really done this before. But that's why we're trying to find those natural fits to how we can make sure that we're reaching people. And so again, some of the questions you can be asking, are you already participating in census outreach? And if you are, that's great. Who else in your community can you get involved in the census outreach work? Maybe if you're not, are there any activities you can effectively and efficiently fit into your census outreach into? For example, if you're not already doing census outreach, maybe you have an event coming up in March that you can easily do a quick 5 to 10 minute presentation about the census in. Or maybe you already have some really strong social media channels that are already live. Just start popping in some census materials in there as well. Maybe you're a library and you have a children's story hour. And maybe 5 minutes before that story starts, you know that you have parents and guardians around. You talk about the importance of counting young kids. Again, it's thinking about what you're already doing, some of that existing programming or events or different communication channels you already have, and how can you naturally fit census messaging into those? And if you want to take it to the next level, what's already happening in the Dallas community that you can get involved in and join? So obviously there's a very robust Complete Count Committee or CCC here in Dallas. Is that something that you can get involved in? Is there nonprofits and a network that you're already in that y'all can come together to do census outreach? So think about what those natural fits are, just because the timeline for the census going live is very quickly approaching. In addition to that, I want you to also think about who you can get involved in. So what communities do you have access to via your personal and professional networks to target census messaging to? And so a lot of times when I do presentations about census outreach, people are like, yes, like we need to talk to the schools and the businesses and local government and the places of worship, and they have this big list of people they need to reach out to, which is good because that's what census outreach is. But what I want y'all to think about right now is who do you have direct touches with now? Like, can you pick up the phone and call like your local school districts? Is that a connection you already have because you work closely with them because you do after school programming? And if you don't have that connection, maybe you have a connection more in the health space. And so don't think about those far-reaching things that require a lot of relationship development. Think about who you can touch right now on this work. And with that, how can you collaborate with trusted messengers in those communities to spread the word about the census? And so again, think about who your target audiences already are. You are already serving people in the Dallas communities. And when we think about that, that's kind of your target outreach when it comes to census messaging and outreach work. And so you're already touching lots of lives here. We just need to change that messaging a little bit to talk about the importance of the census. And also think about who are your co-messengers in this work. I'm sure, I work for a nonprofit. We're in a lot of different coalitions and groups. And so in those groups, we can come together and share messaging with all the folks that we have touches with. So again, think about who your target audiences are and who you can help spread this message. So let's get to the workshop part of things, and let's actually start developing a plan for the census. And we're going to break this down into 5 different sections. So first, we're going to define our goal. We're going to identify target audiences, tailor our message, package the message, and then we're going to talk about distributing the message. And so I went ahead and already defined the message for you, and that is we want to make sure every Texan is counted in the 2020 census to ensure that our state receives the congressional representation, the funding, and the information we need to thrive the next decade. So boom, we're done with step one. Great. Let's go to step number 2. And so I want you to take a minute or two, and you can think independently, or if you're with some of your colleagues or peers, you want to talk with them. I want you to think about your personal and professional networks. And who do you already have that direct touch with right now that you could be promoting the census to? And so go ahead and start listing those target audiences. And so maybe you do run after-school programming, so you have access to children and families. Maybe your organization focuses on working with immigrants. That's another really great target population. Maybe it's veterans, maybe it's South Dallas, maybe it's other nonprofit leaders, or maybe it's the employees at your organization. So I want you to start listing some of these groups, and then I want you to choose about 1 to 3 of these target audiences that we're going to do this activity for. So let's give about 1 minute. If you want to work independently, make your list, or again, if you're with your colleagues, work with them. And so in about 1 minute, we're gonna start doing some group work.
TexasCounts.org and then 2020 census.gov. Social security, community services, Dallas, we're partnered with Texas Feeding America, so we distribute US.
She said it's much more, but I'm trying to use that in building. And I'll probably just have to come out.
Organization that works with others.
I can share it. Do you have Oh, right. Yeah, that could work. That could work.
And I work for nurse, parenthood, first unexpected hospital, and then for women who want to start a business, financial education, one-on-one financial coaching for
Okay, everyone, I'm going to move us to step 3, even if you're still working on step 2. But after identifying those target audiences, I want you to start brainstorming messaging that might work for them. And so when we're thinking about maybe families, the idea that we need to make sure that for the census, that funding goes into our education systems, into our healthcare, what's really going to resonate with that audience to make sure they're filling out the census. In addition to that, identifying any existing messaging or resources that already exist. And so we know for our kiddos that we have these really great Sesame Street graphics that are already in existence, and so maybe using those to spread the word about the importance of the census, and then crafting these resources and messaging to making sure that we're reaching out to our specific audiences. And so now again, wanting to shift things more into that messaging space, and we'll give you guys a little bit longer, and then we'll actually do a share out about some of the messaging ideas you have for your target audiences.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, so I'm just going to leave my phone over here by the camera. You don't have to touch it. I've already, you can do whatever, you can be in if you want. Maybe not public because I might just like, it might be. bobbing for census.
Wow. Sorry, please.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. When they were gonna do the, I traveled with all three of them. Everybody. Oh, really? That's so funny. Okay. Me too.
No, I just,
That's all I can think about.
so, yeah. So I was working on my Texas work. It's probably the hardest job I've ever had. I had to move on from that because it was just okay, it's not very good. Yeah, really awesome work.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Texas.
Okay. Yeah. We do early childhood education to adult US Scholars. Looking into
The last one
No, actually, so we follow curriculum volunteer
it's just hard.
Yeah, I have populated here. It's just like volunteer.
It's just tough, you're out in the elements. It's just, it's got to be different elements from 4 to 9. A lot of times you're having the doors slammed in your face, not very kind to strangers. So yeah, someone knocking at their door, not working.
And then you can show up with
Yeah. 4 to 9, it's also like everyone leads a very busy life. So yeah, that's one thing I don't really like.
Oh, yeah. Really good.
Yeah, the summer was really fun. I was professional students, and the summer it's nice. I didn't mind it was a lot of summer. It's nice to talk to people. Really awesome. It's very high. It's all about me. All based on that's when we go into an area like because we're fundraising, like we just ran a position for basically for this work, so and then so I think you have to be able to raise it's more sustainable. One thing I'm saying is
cash, places where these as well as other nonprofits tap into the communities that have a really wide base of skilled average contributions to dive into the conclusion of it. That is a really sustainable funding source. It's not sustainable is that it's answers, like it's just a system. It's a hard job. It's just there's stuff around. Yeah, especially if it's a person of color, I was really The thing is, we have like communities that we have we always tell them, like, early on in the day, we talk to someone, and they're like, oh, I'm never on plastic, there's water. Tell them to post on their neighborhood thing, like, to sleep easier tonight, knock on 49, it's all good, just so they know, we're not supposed to sell it.
Hard to hide the flags. It's hard to hide the flags.
Community organizer, the tablets,
Hey everybody, we're gonna pull it all back together real quick. Hi again. It sounds like we're having some really great conversations, and I hate to interrupt you, but I do want to have an opportunity for folks to share out, just because some people that might not necessarily be sitting at your table might also have some similar target audiences. And so I wonder if anyone wants to share out kind of who they're thinking that they're going to target in their outreach messaging and what some of that messaging might be for those groups. So anybody want to share? Oh, we have quite a few.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Director of Development and Marketing for Los Barrios Unidos Community Clinic. So we have, hello. So we have a facility in West Dallas, 2 facilities in West Dallas, and a facility in Oak Cliff. And so I'm here today to figure out what we'll be doing, and I've just realized, yes, we will be doing something. So we're working on it now. We'll be using Facebook and social media, considering an event, setting up laptops in our lobbies with information, kind of like we were talking here, a mini kiosk without the formal kiosk. So anybody who wants to partner or collaborate with us, by all means, and we'll be giving out flyers as well.
That sounds great. Awesome.
Hi, my name is Irina Chustis, and I work at the International Rescue Committee. We work with refugees and all sorts of immigrants in Dallas. In the same vein, we're going to be doing a lot of outreach to apartment complexes where our clients live, to employers. We're going to be hosting a Census Day event, not actually on Census Day, but on April 3rd, in the neighborhood in Vickery Meadow where we work. So if you guys, we also have a lot of resources available for other languages. So Kinyarwanda, Swahili, if you guys are running into any refugee languages that you don't have access to, come up to me and I have flyers with me, I can give you stuff. And we're also going to have interpreters available. So if we have people that need interpretation, they can come to our office. we're going to help them apply for the census using an interpreter. So we have funds to be able to do that.
Hi, I'm Dolores Wilson. These are my sisters, and we represent Delta Sigma Theta. We have already begun our plan. We've defined our goal. We've identified the hard-to-count areas and the low response areas. We're at the process now of completing arrangements to do a couple of street figures. One of the things we've determined is that we're here, but getting a community to come out and sit and listen to this, not gonna happen. So, because we do a lot of social action and work in the community a lot, we know the one way to get people out is to do something that's fun. So we are planning a street fair, and we're going to collaborate with the pastor at the church that is a part of that community, the Boys and Girls Club director that is a part of that community, and we are going to do that in the North Dallas Plano area. That is where we're working now. We have a census subcommittee as a part of our chapter, and I work on that committee, and all these ladies are also going to be responsible, along with about 35 or 40 others of us. But we're already in the process, so we invite anybody to join us. We partner.
Hi, I'm Candy Bradshaw with Harmony Community Development Corp, where we strengthen families and revitalize neighborhoods. And we actually have a food pantry. And so we're actually going to set up tablets so that when people come into the food pantry, they can have access to a network. And then we also discussed at our table about the need to be equipped to assist seniors in completing their census, and maybe that at our churches, we can set up after services, because that's a trusted place where seniors can come and complete their census online with some assistance from some young adults that are computer savvy.
Good morning, my name is Jasmine Anderson, and I'm with Suzanne Wesley Homes Community Outreach Center. And we work with, we have some great partners and relationships. So we work with the ISD, so of course we'll definitely make sure that they can see if they can put it in some of their newsletters with their communication. As well as we actually work with Amazon as well. They actually operate inside of our facility. So I'm thinking that outside of just putting up the flyers in the lobby, we could potentially have the kiosk up and just maybe even offer a piece of candy or something if they want to actually sign up that day on site. Since a lot of the times they do have to actually wait in the lobby area before they get taken back. And then we actually have a really strong relationship with a lot of the community pastors. My only question or concern more so is that a lot of them are responsible for relaying accurate information back to their congregation. So I want to know, is there anything that's being done, like maybe a one-pager or something that's actually showing where those funds have been allocated in the past? So that way we can communicate that information to them. We can do maybe like a presentation communicating that information to them, so that way they can feel confident in relaying that information, because we've noticed that we're inside one of those tract areas where there's severely underrepresented. So I feel as though if we could do that, that way it'll create more trust, because a lot of the people in the community that we service are very untrusting, because they've had people come in, collect data, and then run off and don't actually produce the funds or produce the different things that they say that they were going to do.
Yes, we definitely have some numbers in terms of those federal dollars coming back to our state and what different programs those federal dollars are going to, that we can make sure that y'all have.
Yeah, we have them for the city as well.
And how much was missed. We want to know how much was missed too, because that's real missed.
Great. Well, it sounds like people, as I anticipated, have already been moving right along in terms of thinking about who your target audiences are, what messaging is going to work, what messaging and outreach strategies really aren't going to work for groups. And so I want to talk a little bit, which sounds like folks have already been talking about, is packaging that message. And so you already have your target audiences in mind, already have some ideas in terms of what that audience, what might really resonate with them. And so thinking about some creative ways to make sure they're getting that message. And so the ladies at this table were talking about that a presentation style like this is not going to work for their community, but having a community event or block party, that's going to have a higher turnout to get the message out there about the census. And so when it comes to packaging the message, it can be as simple as putting a flyer up in your community center. Or an example I always like to highlight out of El Paso is that they were trying to promote the census, and so they actually had high school students compete in a poetry slam about the importance of the census for their community. And again, just another really creative way to get folks involved from the community to spread the awareness about the census. And so if you haven't already thought about some tactics that you might use to package that message, go ahead and start thinking about those in your groups now. And then also just thinking about when you're actually going to distribute that message. And so we know the census is going to be going live next week. And so we're still in that awareness stage, but very quickly, again, we're going to be activating people to fill out the form. And so thinking about the Census Bureau's kind of timeline in terms of awareness, motivation, reminder, as well as some kind of different national calendar day events, how, timing-wise, what makes the most sense for you to promote the census to folks in your community and space? And so again, I'm gonna let you guys get back to discussing in your groups and doing some more strategizing about outreach, and then we'll kind of do another quick shout out towards the end to talk about some of those strategies and maybe the timelines. And I really love how folks are already wanting to partner with other people in this room and inviting people to collaborate. So we'll do a little bit more of that, but yeah, I'll give it back to y'all to discuss amongst your tables.
Yeah, many of them go to public library and they go to school. So,
Unless you partner with the library, I'm sure libraries will charge.
well, I'm sure, yeah, right. Berkeley. We work with all of Dallas area hospitals. I have a daughter who's they're going to China.
Yeah, I think that is actually working as my nonprofit. For a lot of our strategies and outreach and how to break the card. We're the largest so I do a lot of work yeah, so we just started the actual Sometimes. So they naturally display events on their campus. I know, I will. And you know, I was Exactly. I did not remember this time. And then I got a credit card and I was like, I'm going to take forever to get credit score.
Still got a credit card, right?
Yeah, it's so hard.
So they will come in and we receive them very rarely because we have to pick up the equipment. So we have to encourage and they're very reluctant. We have to no, once they know that we don't do it, then ours is just straightforward. And our and we have several and so she obviously don't know. So I mean, we get ready to shower here, bed, everything. And she just noticed it's just, very
Hey everyone, bringing the room back together again. Again, really excited to hear all of the great conversations happening about the census. We are nearing the end of our time together about workshopping around the census, but I do want to open it up to anyone else who would like to share out maybe about their target audiences, some of those messaging or tactics that they'll be using. I think it would also be really interesting because again, you know your community best and the folks that you're trying to reach. You could also share out any of the challenges that you're anticipating reaching folks or what they might be nervous about with the census as well. Would be really helpful information to everyone in the room. So whoever wants to share out, go right ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Doris Prescott. I'm with Services of Hope. And we've gone to several of the census training. One of the big things, which is a challenge that we can take care of, is many of us are in these rooms and we don't have the information of each other. And each time I have to leave, I say, can we get the contact information from the other organizations so we can share, so they can share the events, like the young lady that I met this Domingo, where we can actually now share that event and make those funds go much farther. So hopefully maybe from this one, because I'm really begging that we can get the information from the other organizations, names, emails, so that we can share that, and that makes it much better for us to do it, okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can, definitely. We'll be happy to share the contact information and the slide deck as well to everyone that's attended.
Hi everyone, my name is Anissa. I am with Wings. We serve first-time expectant moms living under the poverty line through nurse home visits. We offer entrepreneurship training to women, and we provide financial education, including one-on-one financial coaching for families. And one of the challenges we currently face is bringing people through our doors, especially Latinx community members. And I was really shocked and excited to hear that there are so many people engaged online rather than maybe in person being the first step towards reaching them. So how I want to tackle that is we have video capabilities. We can just shoot out a class online and kind of get the relationship going, and then hopefully they'll share videos on Facebook, and then we can throw in that message of census, and then we also have a computer lab on site that they can come out for census day maybe complete. But another issue that we're having is capacity. So I want to partner with everybody here, and I want to be at that party, and I want to be over there. But we don't have an outreach person because we're a nonprofit and we don't have that many staff members. So I think it would be cool to get the information, and then maybe we can share materials. So we can't maybe necessarily be in every place at once, but at least we're pushing each other's materials out there and filling the gaps in our community.
Share one point before we move on. I'm not sure if the City of Dallas website, maybe one of you individuals from ADI has the community events calendar, but I know you can put an event on the Texas Counts calendar. As part of our follow-up, I promise we'll push out whatever community calendar events are possible. So at a minimum, Texas Counts, but hopefully the Dallas County website will allow you to share community events too. And it's literally, you just go on, you say you have a census event, and it'll populate. So we'll include that in our follow-up. Other questions? Okay.
I'm Martha Fernandez with the Dallas County Community College, and we're doing an all hands on deck type of tactic using all the resources we have readily available. We serve about, on average, 80,000 students across the county in our 7 colleges and counting our campuses as well. So we're using social media. So we are on Twitter, we're using our Facebook. We recently hosted 3 trainings across our colleges and trained over 60 ambassadors across our colleges. But even with all those efforts and using all the resources we have, we plan to open our doors to our students, our communities. I believe that we're educating leaders of tomorrow with our dual credit schools and just all of our certificate programs, etc. Our challenge is that volunteer bandwidth. We're still educating students, and so we need the support of the other organizations that are trying to do this work. So I agree with the question earlier, with the 2 people that I mentioned earlier. It'd be great to know who all is working on this. We have a lot of great resources, but we can't do it alone. We have to work together. So anyone that's looking to volunteer, I'll be here. You can catch me afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, one resource that I want to share with you that the Census Bureau has employees. We have 7 area census offices located around our area. So we have staff members that are willing to come and help staff your events. If you will get with your partnership specialist, I have my business card here. If you don't know who your partnership specialist is, I will get you in touch with them. They will put in the system that you have an event that you need some assistance with, and we'll get some people there to help you. So I just want to make sure you knew that you had that resource as well.
Thank you for mentioning that, Catherine. I can say from Communities Foundation standpoint, we have been partnering with the Census Bureau on countless events. So we've never once called and they said, we can't get anyone out. So just know that they are an active and willing partner, and as it ramps up, they will ramp up with us.
Good morning. I'm Janet Kane. I'm with the Metro Texas Association of Realtors. We have 22,000 members around the state, and so we're doing everything we can to let our realtor members who are meeting families, they're buying homes, they're renting, they're doing all these things to reach out to them. But one of the things that the Collin County Association of Realtors did was to develop videos. They're about 30 seconds, 60 seconds on the census, and it's on their website, Collin County Realtors, and they did it in 26 different languages. And they took realtors that speak the language and they videotaped them, and they're each giving that promo. So I know that they'd be happy to share that with you, but when you were talking about how important of videos, that would be a terrific one.
Good morning all. I'm Daisy. I'm the Educational First Steps, and
we have the privilege of working with childcare centers across the Metroplex. And so what we are going to do is target our directors to provide information of how they can help their center be involved and how this will turn into revenue for them in the future, because we know that they're serving their community for the love and the passion, but also as a small business, how this can assist them. We'll also target our teachers within those centers that we mentor to help convey the message not only the parents, but the children to our activities. And of course, the parents who come to the center provide information, some flyers, and using our social media platform and our supporters to help us clear out the message. And we were just thinking that after the fact of the last activity, maybe doing like a center contest that allows for the creativity of each of the teachers and do an activity that has to evolve with the census that helps parents realize the importance, but also in a fun way, inform the child about the census, kind of providing that information with the dual generation parent engagement and also information at a young age, that critical 0 to 3 that we work with. So that's us. And we would love to partner with anyone who wants to.
Hi, good morning. Almost afternoon. My name is Melissa Prouty, and I work with the Aberg Center for Literacy. And so what we do is we do a lot of ESL classes, GED education. But my thought, and what we'd like to try to do is we actually go into project-based learning in April. And so I'm thinking we have students who have a voice already in their community. So utilizing them and making them ambassadors, helping them understand the importance of the census, and then having them create videos to go out to the community. We have computer labs, and being able to then have on site an event where people come in and they bring in their people to register and make sure they get it done. So that it's taking our trusted voice and then using our students as ambassadors and expanding that reach. So that's one way that maybe if you have students that are ESL students, you can utilize them in the community.
Yep. Here I am again. Cute idea. Okay, we talk about social media and we talk about reaching the kids, but someone, and I can't remember who did it, but they did a TikTok challenge. And they had the kids do a video on the census and why it's important. And I think the winner got a $50 gift card or something like that, but that's an idea. So, because TikTok, I don't even know how to use it or whatever, but the kids do, that's what's important, and we can spread the message that way as well.
Great. Well, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank all of y'all for being in this room today. Oh, sorry, right there.
Good morning. My name is Debbie Burkham. I'm here from the Senior Source. And so I'm really happy to be here today. I'm going to take all of this information back and share it with our directors. But as you know, 10,000 Americans are turning 65 or older every day. So it's very important that that population be counted. And I'm hoping that we can use this information. We have utility assistance and benefits enrollment every Monday, so we'll try to get it out to our clients at that time. We also have our Ombudsman Program, so these are the patient or resident advocates for skilled nursing facilities and assisted living. Hopefully we can carry that message there. We also have RSVP volunteer programs. And so foster grandparent and senior companion, so we can get the message out through them as well. So, and San Wesley Homes, we work with them as well.
Great. Well, thank you again, seriously, for engaging in census work and just the amount of reach you have in the Dallas community and the number of ways that you're hoping to reach out folks. It's just really exciting and amazing, and again, just really thankful to be in this space with y'all. If you have any questions for me, I will be here. Please come and find me. My email is really short. It's just MARTIN Martin@cppp.org, so cppp.org. Also visit us on texascounts.org. Again, we have a bunch of resources. We also, the Census Bureau has created like like a coloring book for kids, and we have resources, not just like posters and videos and things like that on our website. So thank you again. Good luck in all of your Get Out the Count efforts. And yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, our next speaker, Elizabeth Saab, and our final speaker, Sophia Johnson, are still briefing City of Dallas leadership and the City Council about the upcoming census operations. In their stead, we have Angela Broyles from our team here at CFT, who manages our statewide census grant-making and advocacy work alongside Katie Martin. So, Angela, please lead us through Dallas.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. I know we're running a little bit behind, so I'm going to cruise through their presentation, speaking on behalf of Elizabeth Saab, who's overseeing the Complete Count Committee for Dallas. Just to give you a quick overview of what the City of Dallas is doing and how you guys can engage with them. So just keep in mind, I just saw the presentation for the first time 5 seconds ago, but I am going to cut it like by 80%. So, okay, so you can see it. Okay, great. All right, so this is, as you've seen some of the Dallas branding, this is their website. It's dallascensus.com, and they're going to have a lot of great resources, which ABI will speak to shortly. I'm not going to do the overview of the census. I think everybody's pretty clear on why it's important, why we all need to get involved. About the citizenship question, I'm hoping most of you know that it's no longer on the census. It's been taken off. We know it's had an impact, but it no longer exists. This is for the state of Texas. This is kind of important. We've mentioned it before, the importance, but in 2016, Texas received $59 billion in federal funding, which amounted to $2,132 for every Texas resident. So these are some of the numeric statistics you can give. Someone asked me about the funding coming to the state. Well, some states are putting more money into their census efforts than Texas is. For instance, the state of California is spending $187 million to make sure that all their citizens are counted. So if we don't count our citizens in Texas, then our money is going to go to California and New York. So make sure your people know that. If we're not getting the federal funds, someone else is getting it. So how much do we stand to lose? This is back to what Judge Jenkins was speaking to. It's the for every person missed in 2010, Texas lost 1,161 person per year, so $10,000 over the decade. Just some statistics on Dallas and its growth. In 2010, we had 1.1. Is this correct? Third largest city in Texas. It's gone from 1.19. Okay, that looks right. 2010, 1.9 million residents, and in 2020, we have 1.39 million residents. This is an estimation, so hopefully we'll hit that with the census. Counting dollars. Okay, so this is to your, one of the questions over here about how some of the money is allocated in Dallas. These are some of the high level numbers, but I know that I've seen some of the work that Elizabeth and the city have put out where they're getting more specific about, there's some different codes that go into the exact allocation of federal funding into these areas. And so I know that that information is available if that's something you need to communicate to your communities. Do I have this on my list? No. Who is at risk of not being counted? I think everybody's clear on most of the hard to count communities in Texas. And so this is a little bit more information about the Rome data that you can go and find about your hard to count communities. So this shows you the tracks, which I think everybody's somewhat clear on, but you can go in and see what were the response rates in 2010, which areas down to the neighborhood are what the response rates were, and where you might want to target your efforts if that lies within your community. But this drills it down a little bit further, so you can, this is tiny, you can't see it, but it basically tells you up at the top, that's the tract number, and then to the bar on the left just gives you some demographic information, some income information, some response information. So it just lets you drill down a little bit further about your community to see specifically what's happening in that area. How hard to count is determined. This is just some US Census Bureau information. You can find this on their website. And okay, so this is important. What the City of Dallas is doing to make sure there's a complete count for the census. So this is just a general overview of what the City of Dallas is doing. The Dallas mayor has appointed chairs and co-chairs of the Complete Count Committee, which they started early in January 2019. Each city council member appoints at least 2 members to the Complete Count Committee, which then have 2 district representatives serve as district captains in the hard to count communities. They liaise with their council member and help to mobilize members of their community, or I'm just reading it, guys, sorry, and work to reach local stakeholders to raise awareness about the census in 2020. Members of the Complete Count Committee in Dallas are also helping generate some funding sources, lend expertise and relationships, create collaborative opportunities, and represent various race, creeds, and color. So once you become involved with the Complete Count Committee and get to know everyone, you can get assistance in these areas and really learn how to collaborate and amplify your efforts. So these are some of the folks that are important on the Complete Count Committee. These are the subcommittees. So we have the Hard to Count subcommittee, which is run by Casey Thomas. So they're responsible for organizing and implementing the grassroots, hyper-local efforts to reach hard-to-count communities. The hard-to-count, as you know, as people on the ground, these have to be person-to-person, trusted contacts. So Casey's kind of overseeing and helping out with those efforts. For fundraising, that's George Tang. He's here at CFT. He's helping to solicit funds and in-kind donations. Oh, we can't see that. To assist with costs associated with outreach efforts. So the City of Dallas is actively continuing to fundraise for census efforts. Media is Mary Paz, so she's coordinating media opportunities, and then partnerships is Pauline Madrano. She's serving as an ambassador to different industries to share the census outreach message. This is their timeline. This is 2019. This is basically part of their strategic plan. So I'm not going to go over what's happened in the past, but it involved a lot of planning and coming up with a strategic plan and choosing a vendor to help with the implementation of their strategy. This is, in 2020, they have some specific events happening. You can get more of this on dallascensus.com. But for instance, in March, the week of March, they're promoting a citywide weekend-long online participation events, March 28th and 29th. So we ask you that go to the census website, see what they're doing, and see if there's ways for you to kind of hop on to what they're doing and piggyback, support it in whatever ways you can. Redistricting, just in case you don't know about redistricting, this is one of the important things that comes from census data. Every 10 years, the city council, they're redrawn based on census counts. It's governed by the city charter, chapter 4, section 5. And it requires the appointment of a redistricting commission, a 15-member commission appointed by the mayor and the city council. The redistricting commission draws new districts in compliance with guidelines outlined in the city charter and federal law. More about the redistricting, I'm going to skip this if you guys don't mind. It's on the presentation that you guys will receive. And this is just about getting involved. I think all of you guys know it's about working together, getting involved with the Complete Count Committee, working with your committees. It's all a group effort. And here's the contact information. This is Elizabeth Saab. She has, like I said, a wealth of information on how the money is distributed. She can tell you more about the Complete Count Committee. But next up, should I move on to ABI? ABI is then, I might as well let the maestro do it.
Happy to tap in. As I said, Sophia is otherwise detained with Elizabeth Saab at City Hall right now, but in her place we have Jose Palos from Alpha Business Images to walk us through how we're going to draw down some of the resources and technical assistance available for folks here in Dallas County.
You guys hear me okay? One of the things that Dallas also did was partner with Alpha Business Images, who I am with, as well as Brianna Morse, my counterpart. So what we've done is really focus on the hard to count market. That's a lot of what we saw up there in the Dallas slides. Part of the big effort is to ensure that everybody's counted this year. And that's really targeting the hard to count areas. So we've partnered with them and really discussed effective ways to be out there in those communities, face to face. Angela brought that up, and that's exactly right. We're going to be sharing messages that are going to be trusted, and hopefully, we'll see all that take place, and the results will show. So what we'll do right now is kind of just cover the different resources that we have out there for anyone to use. We've had conversations with a lot of you over the last few weeks, so it might not be a surprise to see us here today. I'll actually invite our president, Sophia Johnson. She's a lot more pleasant to take her speak. But,
I am so sorry. We were at city council and it was just, no. But anyway, I don't want to interrupt them. I just want to help.
Thank you, Sophia. So what we've done is created what we want to call a hub for resources. So we have a website. It was brought up earlier, DallasCensus.com. There's going to be a toolkit tab there for anyone to be able to access materials like flyers, posters. Texas Counts had a great, toolkit on theirs as well with the social media posts. We'll have items posted up there weekly for anyone to be able to utilize. I'm sorry, we do have. So we'll kind of go over what some of that looks like. Again, the website is DallasCensus.com, and up at the top you'll see I can't really see it here, but there's a toolkit tab. You'll just click on that, and there will be some resources like email templates. So as you're sending out emails to your network, you can utilize the templates that we have to brand and spread messaging for the importance of census through the materials we have placed there.
You will also see that there's a new email every single week. So you don't have to create your own communication. If you want to send an email to your constituents, every week the email changes, and every week the social media changes. So you can go down there and download a couple of posts, you can get an email, send it for that week, and say, okay, what am I doing next week? On Fridays, we put up new collateral, and you can send that out. But if you decide, hey, I want to send something on behalf of Pastor Carter, there's a template up there, and you can send it using that template so you can make sure that the branding is consistent. So, want to make your own stuff? You have that option. You don't want to make anything, you just want somebody to do everything for you and you just want to download it and send it, you have that available. And it's there every week. We've done it for the last 2 weeks. You can right now, if you wanted to, download the email, download the social media, and send it out. And then on Friday, I apologize, you will get a new set. In addition to the toolkit that's up there, there are Spanish language and English language resources available. There are videos. Starting, I think next week or the week after, all of our collateral will be Spanish and English. So if you want to send something to a Spanish-speaking only audience, it will be there. And then we will also be adding Arabic, Mandarin, and Vietnamese. It will not be every time Arabic, Mandarin, and Vietnamese, but we will give you some resources in those languages if you are speaking to constituents that English is not their first language. That's an example of what we have for social media posts, but they change all the time. So like I said, please use that as a resource for where you can get information, because people are saying, I need something to send. It's up there. But if you also want to print something, there are flyers already up there. There's a poster already up there. You have access to printing. You don't want to wait until next week when Communities Foundation will begin to have some things ready. We have digital files up there. You can take it to Kinko's, wherever, and go get your own things printed, and you can use that right now. And that's available on the website. So probably the most important tab that you can click is Toolkit. And Toolkit has things that are specific to Dallas County. We also have, we will be doing it by suburban cities. So right now we have Irving and Mesquite. But if your city is, I don't want to say Dallas County, I want to say Irving, then you can download the assets that are specifically for that city.
One of the things that we've heard a lot about and had conversations with people even today is about kiosks. So kiosk, what I'd like to do is maybe just put a definition out there. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding or just uncertainty on what exactly a kiosk is. A kiosk can be a simple device that can be accessed to take the census survey. It could be a laptop on a table, it could be access to a smartphone. So although we have up here an example of a kiosk, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have one of these and you have a kiosk. We had a conversation with Jolene. They have some clinics, and we discussed, the possibility of one of their spare computers being placed in a location designated only for their patients to come in and take the census survey as they sit there and wait. What we would do is work with her, provide some materials that would kind of guide, the passerbyers or patients that are in the waiting rooms to that kiosk and fill out the survey. So as she might not have one of these kiosks in her waiting room, she would definitely have a kiosk in the equipment that she has there.
Brianna's going to say what I'm going to say. Actually, he means that's a Census Live location. It is not a key. So these are the kiosks. They are about 4 feet tall. It's cardboard. It's a way of, if you don't have a place where somebody can do it, let's say we've had a restaurant sign on, and you don't have a place where somebody can fill out the census, we will give you a cardboard kiosk. You can put the tablet there. Or when we have, or if you're at an event, you don't have somewhere that it can happen. But any place where somebody can sign up for census is called Census Live. And that was the distinction. So if you set up something in your clinics, that's a Census Live location. And what we want, there are 200 plus census tracts in Dallas that are hard to count. We want Census Live locations in every single hard to count census tract. So to the extent that your organizations can help us to make sure we have a Census Live location, I will tell you one of the great things that we got news on is Dallas ISD is putting Census Live locations in every single school library that they have. They will also be having census nights for all of their hard to count tracts, but Dallas ISD doesn't necessarily cover every single block group. So your nonprofit is going to be really important in helping us say, I know 5 places where we can put a Census Live location. And maybe one of those places needs a kiosk. If so, we can mobilize and get a kiosk there. But the other 4, all we're needing you to have is a table, broadband internet access that's secure, so it has to have some password on it. And they have to have a little bit of privacy. So if somebody's putting their birth date in there, you don't want somebody looking at you putting your birth date in there. So they need a little bit of privacy. But if you have that, then we'll give you everything else you need for that Census Live location in terms of signage and stuff. And you'll see that, we see that in the presentation. So if you agree that, pardon me?
Will you promote Census Live?
Absolutely, it will be on the website so that all neighborhoods will know. And if you have a Census Live location and you say, hey, I want to have flyers that I hand out in my neighborhood to say, this place is hosting a Census Live location, we can do that for you. But for Census Live locations, you'll see that you get exterior signage for the yard or for the exterior part of your building. You'll get interior signage, you'll get t-shirts for your volunteers. Because I imagine if you're using your old computers or tablets, you want them to be there when the people walk away. So you're gonna probably need a volunteer to stand there. So if you have a volunteer, we'll have 4 volunteer t-shirts in your kit. You'll get a tablecloth, you'll get signage, but you'll have everything you need to make it a little festive. We'll also try to make sure that everybody gets giveaways, and it can be something simple. It may be hand sanitizer, it may be a pair of flip-flops. Pardon me, very popular right now. If it gets too popular, we won't have any gathering places and everybody, then we're gonna have to figure out a different strategy. We are also actively looking for anybody that has giveaways for us that we can use at our Census Live locations. People love to get stuff. So if your organization is a hospital and you have little samples of Band-Aids, we need those. If somebody's got some old t-shirts from an event they did 2 years ago and you don't know what to do with them, guess what? We want to tell people, well, hey, here's a t-shirt. Thank you for filling out the census. But if you have giveaway items, we have a storage facility and we need those because we want to make sure every single Census Live location has giveaways with that location. Oh, we went over postage. So One of the things that I did want to talk about that I'm not sure, did I catch you at the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I did want to talk about is we have the advantage on our team of having incredible software that allows us to not only see the census tract, but the block groups within that census tract. We have the knowledge of what the percentage of the people are that have internet in that block group, what the percentage of people who don't speak English, what the percentage of people are who have children 0 to 5, what the ethnicity is in that specific block group, what the population is. We have a lot of information on each census tract. Our strategy for this is to make sure that every hard to count census tract is covered by a partnership. And a partnership is you all, it's Dallas ISD, it's the Parkland Clinics, it's Dallas Housing Authority. Partnerships are anybody that can help us get the word out to groups. So what we want to do so that we don't have people willy-nilly all over the city running around doing their own census promotion. I'm not saying that that's bad, but it's not a strategy. So what we want is for everyone to let us know that they want to be in partnership so we can assign you a census tract. And we can say, based on where your clinic is or where your church is, you would be perfect for census tract 107.2 and 107.7. And then you can concentrate on that area. We will know it's covered, and then we can put somebody else in another area. Instead of you saying, well, we kind of know Southeast Dallas. Okay, I really want to assign you to a census tract specifically so that I can go back to the city and county and say, 100% of our census tracts are covered, instead of 3 organizations covered 107.2, but nobody covered 99 at all. We don't want to do that. So we want to be the coordinator to make sure that when we show a map, we can show that all of it is covered. So if you all will please let us know with the pledge cards, I want to be involved, I want to host a census live, I want to help get the word out. You can have access to my audience. Let's say you can't do a census live. You can't have a kiosk in place. Can we come to your place and hand out information? So I'll tell you some unique things that we've done, and it can be at an event or it can be at an organization. Last week, there were 20,000 people at the Mark Anthony concert. We were able to, in a partnership with the American Airlines Center, we were able to set up a booth at no cost to us. We had over 1,000 conversations with people that were at the Mark Anthony concert. We handed out 1,200 flyers. We set up a little photo booth, really, really inexpensive, but that's what made people stop. And then we were able to have the conversation about the census. So give us access to your audience if you can't have a census live. But another opportunity to do that is not just events, but the consulado is allowing us to be in place every single day. That's 800 people every day, 800 different people that we're able to be in contact with to say, we'd like you to fill out the census while you're here waiting. We're trying to get a contract with, we're trying to get a connection with the DMV, because you can't wait any longer than you can at the DMV. And there's nothing else for you to do at the DMV except let us talk to you about the census. So that's the type of partnership that we want is, you're stuck here for 4 hours? Guess what? We have something that you can do for 15 minutes. So if anybody has a connection with the DMV, let us know, because we want to be in there. But it's an opportunity of, do you have a captive audience all the time, or do you have a captive audience for an event? Either way, that's the type of partnership that we're looking for so that we can get the word out, fill out the census. So it's not just you saying, I'm on board. Let us also know who else in your community can be on board with this, because we want to coordinate that effort. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I just want to say thank you. We've been using some of the resources since the moment they came out, and I refresh every day. We get to know to refresh on Friday.
Yes.
We're going to do some refreshing, but the resources are incredibly helpful. When we did our ambassador training, we put out the bilingual flyers for all the colleges, and they're great.
That's great.
Martha, I just added you to our distribution.
And everybody, please use the hashtag Dallas Census. Oh, Dallas Counts, sorry. Everybody, please use the hashtag Dallas Counts. And I was getting it confused because our website is dallascensus.com. But we want that hashtag to be active. We want you to share the information of the website and our social media handles with your constituents. We want to create this buzz. This is a marathon. It is not like yesterday was voting day. It happened, we had early voting this long and then voting day. This is not like that. This is an effort that starts mid-March and it's not over until July 31st. Those first couple of weeks, that's not the hard to count. You're gonna see numbers from the first the end 2 weeks of March and the first 2 weeks of April, and you're gonna say, oh, we're so successful. That is some success, but that is not the hard to count. That's the easy to count. What we're worried about are the people that say, I'm not filling that out. I don't care anything about what you said about money for schools, and that's what's coming back in our focus groups is people are saying, those messages don't mean anything to me. You're not gonna give that money to my school. You're not gonna put any money on my street. The hard to count are telling us, we don't believe you, but guess what? They believe you. They're not gonna believe our message, but the people that they trust who are in their community, they are going to believe them. So this is a partnership network load. And we're counting on you guys to carry it out. So please connect us with other groups, because if Candy says something, everybody who listens to Candy is going to agree with that. But if we say it, they're gonna go, that's not gonna really mean anything to me. But I can tell you, for you all, they were just saying it at Dallas City Council, for every one person that is not counted, we're losing $11,000 a year. That's for programs, for social assistance, for roads. And then this is what happens too. If you're in the southern part of our city or in the northeast part of our city or in West Dallas and you're not counted, that's why they won't put a grocery store in our neighborhood, because they say, nobody lives there. Yes, we do live here, but we have to fill out the census or we're not gonna get a grocery store. So your partnership is so important. Your credibility, we are relying on. So I would encourage you to fill out those surveys so that we can build the best network that Dallas County has ever seen. And we can go back to our stakeholders and say, every single hard to track count is covered by a partnership.
Any other questions for the ABI team?
Thank you all, and then be sure to hashtag Dallas Counts 2020. Dallas Counts 2020.
General question, and this may not be ABI specific, but our table we were talking about, if you have someone who's pregnant, it's gonna deliver in the next few months, what do?
It's only for residents that are living in the house.
So let me answer that question. So if someone is pregnant, we would like to make sure that they're counted on the form. So if I am pregnant and I give birth on April 1st, my baby's going to count. But if my baby is born on April 2nd, unfortunately, it's not going to count. I know, but in terms of messaging on the actual census form, you're supposed to put like how old someone is in years. So if it's a newborn, it's going to say 0, and then right next to that is going to be the birth date. And so even if my baby was born on April 2nd and I fill that in and put April 2nd, the Census Bureau is going to look at that and be like, oh, well, this baby was born after April 1st. And so technically it's not, you don't necessarily have to tell people about that, but unfortunately, baby's not going to get counted.
It's just because we got to cut it off somewhere. And so that's what we decided. But, you know, we want everybody counted, but we just have to, you know, we can't do it all. We just got to cut off at some point. So after April 1st, babies are not counted.
Any other questions?
One of the questions, so, if we have it set up, and we're talking about the confidential, is there any way that y'all can provide like the ballot box thing that we can set up in our location to show that?
We can look into providing covers, but I can tell you that if you just have a little space, it doesn't have to be somebody has to be 4 feet away. I mean, you're at the grocery store and you're at the ATM, somebody's standing, in proximity to you. It just needs to be that you want to make sure that somebody who is next to them cannot see the information that they're entering. But we will also look into, for Census Live Kids, what kind of border we can give you to protect that. I like that idea. Ms. CFT?
Pledge cards? There is a basket on the registration table right outside this room on your way out. Please drop them right in.